are now in the Black Box with Spider Loke, Most Easty, aka BJ Keyway, and the Google Gang. Let's go!
Listen, gratitude is the attitude. Show is a blessing. To be back in the Black Box. Black Box.
Relax, roll up as we randomly react to content in these YouTube streets. Yeah. It's time for R&R.
Smack with that hustle. Big shout out to my SPR, Spotter Low. You know I'm in the Black Box. Had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned. All that.
The constant, consistent, continuous content creation campaign continues. Yeah, you see what it say. Cold situation on the menu. And when you realize who did it, it's a cold who done it. I don't want to spoil it. Oh, my mama. But with no further ado, let's see what this church pastor has been up to.
Do you remember a church pastor who was given a sermon in North Baddock, Pennsylvania? And a man from the audience suddenly points a gun at him?
And God had chose. Jesus.
Oh, boy who jumped on him first, I know he the hero of that church forever and a day. Everybody respect and love him forever. He did that.
Luckily, this pastor survived because the gun failed to work when he pulled the trigger. But in this story, Pastor William B. Schooler would not be that lucky. He was shot dead inside the church just before his sermon. This is the life and death.
Oh, my mama, some of them dudes sitting around with them suits on, deacons, supposed to be burning up legally, on point for any and every. It shouldn't be obvious who they is. You come in there playing, that's where you will be laying. Oh, my mama.
Of Reverend William B. Schooler.
We had a gentleman come in, and he went to sit down, doing prayer, and he sat there for a few minutes, and then after prayer, he got up, and he went back in our pastor's office, and then I heard two shots. It wasn't a minute, and I heard two shots, and so I just got everybody out of the church. And you know, we just kept hearing shooting, bang, bang, bang.
Reverend William B. Schooler was more than a pastor. He was a leader, a veteran, a mentor, and a pillar in Dayton, Ohio. A man whose life was rooted in service from the very beginning. But behind his lifelong mission, his courage started long before the pulpit. Born in 1945 in Dayton, William grew up surrounded by a strong sense of faith and responsibility. He graduated from Dunbar High School in 1963, carrying with him the dreams of a young man eager to serve something bigger than himself. Not long after graduating, he joined the U.S. Army and was deployed to Vietnam, where his courage didn't go unnoticed. William returned as a decorated veteran, having earned the Bronze Star for his service. War didn't harden him, it humbled him. Instead of stepping away from duty, he walked into a different battlefield. He began working in Dayton public schools, driven by a mission to educate and uplift the next generation. Students remembered him not just as a teacher, but as a steady force. His calm demeanor and unwavering expectations made him both respected and loved. He later became a principal in the Jefferson Township District, where he served for nearly 20 years. He knew the names of his students, asked about their families, and showed up for them day after day, year after year. But when he retired in 1997, something felt different. The halls didn't feel the same without him. William had always been active in his faith, but after stepping away from education, he embraced his ministry full-time, and soon, he became a shepherd of souls. He became the pastor of St. Peter's Missionary Baptist Church in Dayton, where he led with wisdom and compassion.
See, on Facebook, you look for likes. In this book here called the Bible, you look for love.
His sermons were known to be both challenging and kind, grounded in scripture yet always aimed at real-life struggles and hope.
He's done a lot, within the community. He's touched a lot of young people's lives, and he was an integral part in my rearing.
Beyond the pulpit, Reverend Schooler was a key figure in the community. He served as interim president of the Dayton School Board and was the president of the local Baptist Ministers Union. He worked with civic leaders, churches, and youth organizations. He was the kind of person people turned to, not just for guidance, but for grace. And yet, for all the lives he touched, no one could have imagined what would happen next. Dayton City Commissioner Joey Williams had just spoken with Schooler on the night of February 27th. Their conversation had been about youth violence prevention, something Reverend Schooler had been passionate about for years. But what no one knew was he would be taken by the very violence he hoped to stop.
That hat cocked to the side like that, he did not look like a preacher, man. He looked like a player, slick dude.
On Sunday morning of February 28, 2016, just like every Sunday after his sermon, Reverend William Schooler stepped away from the pulpit. The service had ended. The congregation was still humming with energy and fellowship. William quietly slipped into his office behind the pulpit, a space where he often prayed, reflected, and met with parishioners. But just moments later, a man walked into the sanctuary, someone no one expected to bring violence into a house of worship. It was his younger brother, 68-year-old Daniel Schooler.
Yeah, I didn't want to spoil that. Real life Cain and Abel, that's crazy.
Witnesses said Daniel entered quietly, sat down in a pew, and seemed calm, almost contemplative. But the silence didn't last. Without warning, Daniel stood up and walked straight toward the office. And then they heard the gunshots.
Pow, 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 pow. And that's when everybody started running.
Later, Alberta Blythe, a lifelong church member, recalled what she heard.
After prayer, he got up and he went back in our pastor's office. And then I heard two shots. It wasn't a minute, and I heard two shots. And so I just got everybody out of the church. And we just kept hearing shooting, bang, bang, bang.
Curtis Booker, the church's choir director, shared that it was a scary situation. The whole congregation just ran. They were terrified. But as everyone scrambled for safety, tragedy was unfolding. Inside the quiet church office just behind the pulpit, where prayers had been spoken minutes earlier, 68-year-old Daniel Schooler drew a handgun and fired multiple rounds at his older brother, 71-year-old Reverend William B. Schooler. The shots were sudden and intentional. According to police, William was the only target. There was no sign of a struggle, no chaos or shouting beforehand. It all happened in a matter of seconds.
This wasn't somewhat of an active shooter. The officers did exactly what they were trained to do. They knew there was a shooter inside.
Police say the accused shooter, Daniel Schooler, knew the victim, his brother.
The sanctuary, once filled with Sunday peace, was thrown into confusion. Church members still lingering in the building heard the gunshots and panicked. A few ran toward the entrance, hoping what they heard wasn't real.
The very last place on earth you expect something like this to happen. I know they gotta be shook and shot, shaken, shattered, in shambles. Should be.
But it was. Dayton police and emergency responders were dispatched immediately and arrived within minutes. Their response was fast, but even their urgency couldn't undo what had already happened. Inside the building, officers found Daniel Schooler still in the church, standing near the scene. He didn't run, he didn't speak much, and he didn't resist. Instead, he surrendered quietly, with a calmness that made the act even harder to comprehend. He was taken into custody on the spot. Meanwhile, paramedics hurried to the back of the church. Behind the sanctuary near the pastor's study, they found Reverend Schooler collapsed in his office. Despite all efforts, it was already too late. William had died in the very room where he had counseled couples, comforted mourners, and planned sermons filled with hope. Outside, shock rippled through the neighborhood. Police addressed the media, trying to bring some clarity to the unthinkable. And while their words were meant to calm the public, they couldn't soften the heartbreak. During the investigation, the shock of the shooting gave way to questions. Everyone wanted to know why. What could cause one brother to take the life of another in such a sacred place? But as police dug deeper, what they found was what no one expected. Daniel Schooler, the alleged shooter, wasn't a stranger to the justice system or to personal struggles. His history was long, difficult, with disturbing patterns. And at the center of it was something far more painful than anger. Daniel was suffering from an untreated mental illness. Family members, including the brother's niece, Joyce Napier, came forward to shed light on Daniel's past. She confirmed that he had been diagnosed with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. As children, William and Daniel were close, two sons from the same family tree. But over the years, Daniel had drifted. His illness, left unmanaged, began to fracture relationships. Both men were described as good people and uncles, but things began to change. Daniel's criminal past painted a disturbing picture. In 2001, he was charged with felonious assault and carrying a concealed weapon. At first, Daniel pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, but that changed. He later entered a guilty plea and was sentenced to probation. Still, the court noted something critical. They noted that Daniel may be mentally ill and in need of treatment. But that warning would later become a devastating reality. In 2002, Daniel Schooler was arrested after a violent attack on a woman visiting his home. The woman was beaten, bitten, cut with a knife, and choked. The assault lasted 40 minutes, a stretch of time that might have felt like an eternity. Daniel was convicted of felonious assault with a deadly weapon and sentenced to 2 years in prison. But prison time did not change his behavior. In 2007, Daniel struck a friend in the face with a golf club, completely unprovoked. The blow left the man with a black eye. When the police questioned him, the victim gave a chilling explanation. The victim claimed Daniel had a mental problem. Still, he declined to press charges and the case was dismissed. But the next incident would show how dangerous Daniel had gotten. In 2008, 2 men claimed Daniel threw a hammer at them, then charged with a 6-inch knife in hand. Police would later note a familiar pattern. Daniel was known to become violent when he failed to take his medication. He wasn't an unknown threat. This was a man who had shown time and time again what could happen when help didn't come in time. And yet, despite it all, despite the history, the court warnings, and the clear mental health red flags, Daniel Schooler still managed to walk into a church with a handgun. And this time, his victim would be his own brother. While Daniel Schooler was arrested without resistance, what followed marked the beginning of a long, emotionally complex, and highly scrutinized legal process. His calm surrender at the scene stood in stark contrast.
He just did it. He wasn't even mad about nothing. That's crazy.
To the gravity of the charges levied against him. He was charged with 3 counts of murder, 2 counts of felonious assault, and 2 counts of using weapons while under disability. He was denied bond and held at the Montgomery County Jail where he awaited trial. Montgomery County Prosecutor Matt Heck Jr. addressed the public with a heavy heart. He called it a tragic and senseless shooting, and extended condolences not only to the Schooler family, but to the entire St. Peter's congregation. But behind the statements, deeper questions were still beginning to surface. During court proceedings, Daniel's history of psychiatric struggles took center stage. His attorney raised concerns about his mental competence, citing years of instability. For a moment, it wasn't clear if Daniel would be able to even face trial, but after multiple evaluations, he was ultimately deemed fit.
Only because he was black. Were he white? That's enough background where they would have said he wasn't fit. That's crazy.
To stand trial. Still, one thing remained unclear: the motive. Why would Daniel kill his own brother, a man who had devoted his life to peace, faith, and family? Investigators found out that there had once been a lawsuit Daniel had taken William to court over, family estate matters. But that case had long been dismissed. The shooting, they believed, was rooted not in money, nor in family feuds, but in years of untreated mental illness and unresolved resentment. The days that followed were heavy with grief. The news had spread quickly, and at the center of it all stood a family torn in two.
Inside the church, Pastor Schooler was dead. Outside, his brother Daniel, handcuffed, led off by police.
We're just in shock. We could not have seen this coming.
Daniel and William were two of 13 siblings, a large family.
I love both of my uncles.
A family tonight both grieving and asking that one question, why?
I love both of them. No matter what, I love both of them. And we stick together. We're family and we'll stick together.
No one was prepared for the emotional toll it would leave behind. The Schooler family was left completely shattered by the tragedy, facing a loss that
Nobody win when the family feels. It's crazy. My condolences go out to them. This is tragic, horrible.
cut through generations and left behind a silence that words couldn't fill.
I can't believe it.
It was awful. It was awful.
He just told me today, Sister McGraw, I'm proud of you. Get yourself together and, continue doing God's work.
I got a call from my daughter. That part is very hard to talk about.
In one devastating moment, they lost two beloved uncles, one to the crime and one to death. It was a dual loss that fractured the family at its core. They were grieving not only the absence of Reverend William Schooler, a man known for his wisdom and warmth, but also the irreversible descent of his brother Daniel into a darkness that could not be undone. Church members, too, were just as devastated. Many had known Reverend Schooler not only as their pastor, but as a friend, a counselor, and a constant source of strength. They mourned the loss of a man who was there for them, prayed with them through every stage of life. His death didn't just leave a void in the pulpit, it left one in their hearts. Local leaders and clergy gathered in the days that followed, holding each other in prayer and searching for peace amid the loss. Candlelight vigils lit up the streets. Statements of sorrow were read aloud from pulpits and press podiums. Reverend William Schooler's funeral was held at Omega Baptist Church. One of the
I love that song. Strength of my life, it moves all pain, misery, and strife. I want to go with him when he comes back. I've gone too far and I'll never turn back. That ain't his church. Man, you go out like that, you got to have that funeral in his church. I don't care if it ain't enough space. Standing room only. Oh, mama.
Largest congregations in Dayton. The pews were overflowed with mourners, family, friends, fellow pastors, elected officials, former students, and everyday citizens who had simply been touched by his kindness. Speaker after speaker rose to share memories of a man defined not by ego, but by service. They were grieving the example he had set, the steadiness he had offered, the light he was in dark places. Now, in the aftermath of this unimaginable tragedy, people were no longer just mourning. They were demanding answers, and the hardest questions were aimed not at one person, but at the systems that had allowed this to happen.
Everyone from local pastors to a U.S. congressman are remembering Pastor Schooler and his impact in the Gem City. Police say the 70-year-old was shot and killed in his office as Sunday celebrations wrapped up at St. Peter's Missionary Baptist Church. The suspect is his younger brother, Daniel Schooler, who has been arrested and awaiting formal charges. St. Peter's is a family church of the Schooler brothers. It was led by their father, Reverend Alan Schooler. After their dad's death in the 1970s, older brother William took over. People say even before then, he served as a community pillar. He fought for fair access to banks when PNC tried to leave the West Town Shopping Center. Reverend Schooler also creating new initiatives for education in his nearly 3 decades of service in Dayton and Jefferson Township. Tonight, one group is calling Pastor Williams' death a tragedy and that it highlights the issue with access to guns and gun violence.
How had a man with a long history of violence and untreated mental illness obtained a handgun? The Community Progress Institute of Dayton issued a public statement just days after the shooting, saying it has become obvious that the current regulations and enforcement of the regulations
Ain't no regulations and no gun law stop no individual from getting a gun. See how many minors running around with guns, no matter what laws you have, their guns are accessible. Oh, my mama.
Regulations pertaining to gun violence are not sufficient. More needs to be done.
As a member of the black community that has learned from men like Dr. Schooler, we will continue to not be deterred from the greater cause, and that is the charge and cause to continue to work collectively to improve the conditions like gun.
If you're going to speak from something so important and deep, you should be more sincere and come from the heart. Don't read a prepared message. These should be issues attached to your soul to the point where you don't need to have to refer to no notes. It should just be able to flow because it's something that important and pertinent to you.
Violence in Dayton, the solution lies collectively in our ability and our concern with addressing these issues. And so it is not just one solution, but it takes time. We have to build legislation. We have to do it through government. We have to do it neighborhood by neighborhood.
This wasn't just a family tragedy. It was a failure of mental health systems, a failure of legal oversight. It's also a reminder, one that cuts deep, that family doesn't always mean safety. And silence around mental illness doesn't make it disappear. It makes it deadly. Reverend William Schooler spent his life fighting for change, for justice, for peace. In his honor, that fight must continue, with every voice and every act of courage that says, this cannot happen again. What do you think about this? Let us know what you think in the comments below.
Took him just a week to make the moon and the stars, the sun and the earth and Jupiter and Mars. How loving and patient the Father must be, cause I'm a G. You see, he's still working on me. Our Father, which art the Most High. Your son done had a few drinks and I'm so high. You watch the sparrows, I know you keep a close eye on your children, you always been close by. Beside the lust, I got so much pride. I'm filthy inside, you let so much slide. You hold me down in the coldest situations. And this song is just to show appreciation. Don't deserve to be alive the way I drive. I grind 9 to 5 and don't pay my tithe. And I don't go to church on the Sabbath, but I promise I'ma try to work on them habits.
Lord, wanna be a Christian in my heart, but it's hard. Tell me where do I start? I really wanna change my ways, but all I can do is my part. Lord, wanna be a Christian in my heart, but it's hard. Tell me where do I start? I really wanna change my ways, but all I can do.
I hear your spirit speaking to me saying stop your stressing. Don't you know when you complain you only block your blessings? But every day I try to do a good deed, feed my family despite what the hood need. I'm an Israelite, moms had the faith of Hannah. Walk the wilderness, I done ate some manna. Led by the fire at night, though it's dark. Been locked away with all animals like Noah's Ark. I feel no fear when I battle on the field. For real, my father owned all the cattle on the hill. I need a change, but I doubt it's gonna come if you don't make it happen for your prodigal son, Lord. I confess, it's only one Lord. But look at all the dirty deeds that I done, Lord. Truly wanna give you my heart, but where to start? Show me how to do my part.
Lord, wanna be a Christian in my heart, but it's hard. Tell me where do I start? I really wanna change my ways, but all I can do is my part. Lord, wanna be a Christian in my heart, but it's hard. Tell me where do I start? I really wanna change my ways, but all I can do is my part.
I remember walking the block with no hope, walking with a pocket of dope in the cutthroat. I'm knowing I couldn't survive without you. Even though I'm by myself, I'm not alone. Walking out the liquor store, trying to make a nickel grow. I ain't even trying to hide my sins because I didn't show. I was the worst one cause I'm knowing about the scriptures. I fit the description, I'm all up in the picture. They done trying to help you, I'm the one that's trying to get you. When I go to church, I'll tell the truth, I think I messed up. Fact that my daddy's reaching for me. Lord, I know you wanna speak to me. I'm when it comes to you, it's love at first glance. I'm knowing everything gon' be alright. Please forgive me tonight.
Lord, I wanna be a Christian in my heart, but it's hard. Tell me where do I start? I really wanna change my ways, but all I can do is my part. Lord, I wanna be a Christian in my heart, but it's hard. Tell me where do I start? I really wanna change my ways, but all I can do is my part.
Nightwood Net Hustle. Big shout out to my nigga SPI, Spotter Low. You know I'm in the black box, had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned, all that.
It's the homie cook-up boss, goddammit, Cub Low. And y'all tuning in to the Wake and Bake Show with goddammit the homeboy Spider Low.
Here with SPI, the realest nigga in LA.
Spider this bitch!
My nigga is Spotter Low.
Spider Low, nigga.
Spider Low.
It's Spider Low.
Spider Low.
Spider Low.
Spider Low.
So Spider looks at me because we go back to the juvenile side of the county.
What the fuck?
My nigga.
Spider Low.
Spider Low. Shout out to SPI, that motherfucking nigga.
Spider Low, Wake and Bake. Better keep it Google, nigga.
Loke is in LA somewhere doing what he's doing.
In the words of Spider Loke on my mama's mama.
Spider Loke's gear. This is Bay Mac.
Nate Bud, C-Mac. Shout out my Loke, Spider Loke, huh? Nate Bud on Hood. It's a beautiful world. You fight me? Fight, cred.
Point blank, through no subliminal dissing. When I listen, I can tell you never been on no mission. Sticking to the script, don't care if I offend you. Neighborhood crib, the marathon
I overlook my competition, never seeing them. I done trained my mind that I'm going. You could tell by how I walk, talk, I'm a boss. A east side millionaire, homie, what you thought? My life is a movie. They can't get close to me. They mad cause they can't be. I'm everything that they wanna be, yeah.
You are now in the black box. Whoa. With Spider Loke, Most Easty, aka BJ Keyway, and the Google Gang.
Let's go!